In the news this week, lessons not learned, unrepaired infrastructure following floods anger WA residents as senators from Canberra descend for listening tour. An exclusive interview coming up.
Also tonight, 24-hour shifts for nurses. Health workers facing punishing hours at Fiona Stanley Hospital as the staff shortage drags on. Remembering a multicultural giant in Western Australia. MSC honours Leela De Mel and later Dr Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Leela Thorne.
Good evening. Lessons are yet to be learnt from Western Australia's recent floods as some of our most vital infrastructure remains unrepaired. The issue has caught the attention from Canberra as the Federal Senate Committee met with angry residents who felt left behind by the state of disrepair. Liberal MLC Neil Thomson is calling for full inquiry into the matter. He joins us exclusively this week. Neil, thanks for joining us from Broome. Very beautiful weather up there. Now, I understand there's some very serious discussions regarding WA floods with our federal senators. What does it entail?
So the Senate Committee for Disaster Resilience, that's the federal committee that looks at disaster resilience across our country, very important subject, has met in 3 locations over the last few days, Kununurra, Fitzroy Crossing and Broome. It's taken witness hearings from a range of community-based organisations, individuals and local governments. I also provided evidence at that hearing. I think it's very important we have scrutiny from an independent body as to the response and our disaster resilience in the north. It is an important day of recognising our SES volunteers at the moment. Thank you for all the work, because without your work in Fitzroy Crossing on those first critical days in around the 2nd, 3rd and 4th, 5th of January, before the deployment was able to be made from Perth, I'm sure we would have had a terrible outcome, and it's absolutely up to those SES volunteers and the local people in those communities that did such a tremendous job.
What sort of outcome are you looking at? I understand that you've been calling for an independent review.
So look, I think there should be an independent review at the state level to really get to the bottom of how we did up here. We didn't do as well as the government would like to think. And I know it's a very sensitive issue with the minister, with Minister Dawson. It was at a time when everyone was overseas. We had an acting premier at the time. The premier was in Bali. We had the transport minister overseas in Europe somewhere. It was a very vulnerable time for our state. And then we had the situation that it wasn't until the 5th of January that those planes were able to get into Broome. The deployment of those fixed wing and also helicopters into the Fitzroy Crossing region took a little while. But there are learnings from that about early deployment. And I think that issue, and along with the transport response, we had that tragic 2 deaths. We had the 2 deaths in the river afterwards where people tried to cross. I think there's some learnings we can take from this. Be humble enough to the government, be humble and appoint an independent person like a Royal Commission, I said, and I know the government criticised me to say the word Royal Commission. They get very wound up when there's that kind of word out there, but I can tell you they need to be humble enough, have an independent review. An internal departmental review will simply not be good enough. We must look at the learnings so we can go forward and that we can respond much better to the situations in our remote locations.
Just very quickly, what's the community's reaction regarding the slow repair on flood-damaged infrastructure? What do they expect from the committee?
Transparency and honesty is all we're looking for. We need this, whether it's, the Kimberley, the scene behind me is beautiful. Over the last few days, while I've been following the committee and following what they're doing, meeting with them again on multiple occasions to talk to them, because I want to make sure my messages got through to the members of that committee as much as possible. That's why I took the time off from Parliament, was up here to give advice to that committee so that they would hear the messages. I was wasting my time sitting in Perth, where we see the government just ignoring the questions in Parliament. I wanted to get straight to people who are going to listen and then actually get the voice out there. Hopefully we get a good report. We want to see change so we have a much better community in the future.
And you can read the full story available now on the WAMN Extra News Club. Neil Thomson, thanks for your time this week.
Thanks. Thank you.
WA's nursing shortage crisis is only growing, and now both healthcare workers and patients may be at risk, according to the Australian Nursing Federation. 2 nurses in the Fiona Stanley Hospital ICU have had to each work 24-hour shifts due to staffing shortages. Working for this period of time has a similar impact on the body as a blood alcohol content level of 0.1%.
As winter approaches, WA's nursing shortage is intensifying, with the union highlighting that patients may be at risk. It comes after 2 nurses at Fiona Stanley Hospital ICU worked 24-hour shifts each due to staff shortages. Meanwhile, 17-hour shifts have become the norm, according to the union. The health minister responded saying 24-hour shifts are not acceptable and the government is working to reduce staff shortages. Meanwhile, on other health issues, parts of the Peel Health campus, including emergency departments and operating theatres, have shut due to mould concerns. The government has addressed the situation and 32 patients were moved around the private health system.
We're working with the department and Ramsay are working together. There is an incident control centre headed up by Paul Forden at South Metro, and we're working to make sure that we can remediate this issue within a matter of days so that we can get back to normal operating procedures.
The Australian Nursing Federation Secretary Janet Rare, on the other hand, also raised concerns during her visit to the Peel Health campus this morning.
Regarding reports from staff about roof leaks in various areas of the hospital over the last 2 years, we hope that Ramsay hasn't been putting off these repairs and maintenance because the state government is going to be taking over this facility from next year. We've also been told that staff have been sent EOIs to work at Joondalup Health Campus, which is a 3-hour drive from here, and we're confident that Ramsay will make sure that the staff are paid correctly and reimbursed on their mileage fees that they incur.
Hi there. Are you looking for a new home or want to refinance your car mortgage to get a better rate? At AA Finance Solutions, we have the expertise and knowledge to help you to find the right loan for your needs and budgets. Contact us today. Let us help you to make your home ownership dream a reality.
AA Finance Solutions, your local mortgage broker.
2 men face multiple charges following an investigation by WA police into suspected drug trafficking activity. According to the force, detectives from the Transnational Serious and Organised Crime Squad searched a house in Barradura this week. It will be alleged during the search, police located a duffel bag containing 14 kilograms of methamphetamine and $10,000 and several encrypted mobile phones. Further search warrants were executed in Mirrabooka and Ellenbrook, where it will be alleged police located over $100,000 in cash, 28 grams of cannabis and drug paraphernalia. A 47-year-old man and a 49-year-old man are facing charges. They are not granted bail and faced court this week.
WA police have arrested a juvenile after an alleged motorbike chase in Perth's southern suburbs. The incident happened at around 1:20 p.m. on Wednesday after the police air wing witnessed suspicious activities in Coolungup. A police car was dispatched to intercept the motorcycle rider outside a deli store on Soraya Place, but the rider sped away from the officers as they approached. The motorbike drove into Westerly Way at high speed. Less than 30 seconds later, it crashed into a white Toyota Corolla sedan at the Cambridge Crescent intersection. The rider allegedly attempted to run away from the scene, but police officers stopped him following a brief scuffle. The 15-year-old boy was admitted to Rockingham Hospital for treatment for his crash injuries. Authorities have seized the motorcycle as Mandurah detectives take over the investigation.
The WA government has announced they will offer $1 million as a reward in a bid to solve 64 open investigations. These cases involve unsolved murders or people who went missing under suspicious circumstances. This is not the first time that a monetary reward has been offered to help solve a crime, but it is a first for 39 of the 64 cases. 4 cases previously had a reward of $1 million approved, and 21 others saw the amount offered increased. Members of the family also stood by to witness the media announcement.
Pleased that this has happened. This is a great thing. I had given up hope, really. My mother died 49 years ago in terrible circumstances, and I'd pretty much given up hope that anything would ever be found before I die and my brother. So we're really happy that something's like this has happened, and that they're going to throw everything they've got at it.
Perth museum goers and art lovers have a new reason to smile as endangered species statues were unveiled at the city centre cultural precinct this week. 20 baby animals, including an African elephant, a giant tortoise, a brown bear and a cheetah, were selected from the list. The giant mother gorilla was unveiled jointly by government officials and children at Bula Bardit, with the outdoor display beginning this week and running till the 3rd of September this year, when the statues will be moved to Perth Zoo for permanent display. The joint project was made possible by WA Museum, Arts and Cultural Trust, Perth Zoo, APN and WWF Australia.
And now here's AMA-WA spokesman Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. The need to move patients out of Peel Health Campus is a reminder that there's no extra capacity at all in our public health system around the state at the moment. As these patients are moved, they will create stress and cancellations across the system. No fault of the patients, of course. They've got a 35-year-old building down at Peel. And those kind of buildings do need refreshing. Western Australia needs at least one more large hospital at the moment to cater with the influx of population and to deliver the community what they expect, which is timely access to not just emergency care, which isn't happening, but also elective care. Operations that are incredibly important but don't need to be done tomorrow still can be associated with conditions that get worse over time. So everyone who's been cancelled will have been waiting for a long, long time. In many cases longer than they should be for the procedures that they're having, and now we have yet another problem, all symptoms of a system that is underfunded for the demand being put on it. We can't put it any more simply than that, and we can't make any excuses for governments that have been warned many, many times that in these circumstances you do need to have extra capacity. The problem with running a system like this, apart from the fact you're not meeting the needs of your patients, is that you're also not meeting the needs of your staff to work in a safe environment and to not be carrying moral injury from seeing situations which they know they could treat better if only they had more staff and more equipment and more time to do so. Eventually, I guess there will be a political price for governments, but in the meantime, there is a personal price being paid by the people who have to get shunted around, who have to get delayed again and again, and whose disease or suffering gets worse in the meantime. So it's up to the community, I guess, to be sending the signals to government that we expect that these systems will be funded and run properly, and that in the end there will be a consequence for governments that don't do that. Thanks for your time.
And that was Dr. Andrew Miller's comment. Speaking of the animal exhibition we mentioned earlier, Ivan, which was your favourite animal?
Cheetah, what about you?
I liked the tortoise. I think that they made a really beautiful statue of it, and it was just so detailed.
And very slow as well.
Very
just
slow
exactly the opposite.
That's very true.
But that's very interesting pick. I've never thought you were going to pick the exact opposite. But having said that, though, we both love the moment when they unveiled the gorilla, right?
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah, and the children, the award-winning children for their artwork, and then you got the minister. Everyone just over the mouth. No one. Speaking of which, if you want to go and see it for yourself, make sure you go have a look at it in September before they put it into Perth Zoo. We'll recap this week's top stories again in just a moment.
Right now, here's Madeline Lombardi with Western Perspective.
Thanks, Ivan and Melly. Welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Madeline Lombardi. A new building by Multicultural Services Centre, the MSC in Cannington, has been named after Dr. Leela De Mel in honour of her outstanding contribution towards the MSC and the multicultural sector in general. Dr. De Mel was a well-respected member of the multicultural community and highly respected for her focus on vulnerable communities, both CALD and Aboriginal, and in particular women.
In a ceremony held at Cannington, the Multicultural Services Centre paid tribute to Leela for her formidable work for Western Australia's diverse communities. Leela has served in government as the Executive Director of Office of Multicultural Interest under then Premier Jeff Gallop.
We are gathered here to respect somebody who is so revered and respected in the multicultural sector, and in particular by the big body, the Ethnic Communities Council of Western Australia, and by the Multicultural Services Centre of Western Australia, which is by far the largest multicultural service organisation in Western Australia. The Office of Multicultural Interest, as I will be saying during the ceremony, has had many executive directors, but no one from every perspective will come remotely close to what Leela offered from every perspective. So you don't find people like that. It's a once in a lifetime sort of experience that you would come across. And when we had the opportunity to name this office in her honour, we took it.
Following her recent passing, Ms. De Mel was honoured by the association with a building named after her. Leela's brother and sister came to the ceremony to witness the occasion. Meanwhile, federal MP and Minister Anna Lee and other community leaders marked their respect for Leela's tireless effort advocating for the minority communities.
I guess it is just focusing on the fact that when somebody really does something worthwhile, they can be acknowledged, they can be recognized and in a sense rewarded, albeit, posthumously, for something that they've achieved and done, which has meant so much to so many people. And the fact that she was in the government and still managed to win Ramdas's heart.
And we are delighted and we are proud that Mr. Ramdas and Multicultural Services has honoured her today by naming her the building. She did so much for the various communities in Australia, and we are proud to be associated with this event.
I continue to evoke Leela's spirit because it is deep within me. She had an everlasting impact on my life, and I know she had an everlasting impact on the lives of all of you here, whether directly, if you worked with her, or if you knew her, or indirectly in the ways in which you've benefited from, or come into contact with someone who's benefited from the remarkable reforms that she fought so strongly for.
That was a special report on the naming of MSC WA's new building. You can read our weekly premium news stories on the WAMN Extra News Club, supporting independent local news and keeping democracy strong. And now here's Leo Puglisi with what's coming up on 6 News Tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News, Anthony Albanese and Joe Biden sign a clean energy agreement on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Labor marks a year since their election victory, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to formally enter the race for US President. Watch live on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newse.com. For now, though, guys, it is back to you.
Thanks, Leo. And that's all from Western Perspective this week. We'll be back with you next Sunday. Until then, Ivan and Melly, it's back to you two.
Thanks, Maddie. And that's our weekly news and current affairs, with the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.